A very good evening and a warm welcome to your weekend edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Zeenat Musafir, joined by our news interpreter for tonight, Taraka Gabriel. Let's first take a look at your headlines for today.
President visits Myanmar under the Gamasamaga Pilisandara program. Forest destruction in Dahayagala Thanamalvilla. New COVID-19 variant is dangerous.
ප්‍රභේදයට වඩා ටිකක් ශීඝ්‍රයෙන් ප්‍රතිදීගෙන යාමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා කියලා වෙන රටවල් පෙන්වුම් කළා තියෙනවා.
Health authorities urge to take all necessary action to combat the new COVID-19 variant.
මේක විශාල ව්‍යසනයක් දක්වා වර්ධනය වුණාට පස්සේ ඒක මහ ජනතාවගේ වැරදි හැසිරීම හෝ සෞඛ්‍ය කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ ගැටලුවක් නිසා කියලා තව මාසයකින් කියන්න සූදානම් වෙන්න එපා.
Minister of Trade responds to allegations on cost of goods.
අඩු උණයි කිව්වට නෙමෙයි අඩු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
On to your top story tonight, the 10th phase of the Gamasamaga Pilisandara program was held in the village of Myanmar in the Kandy district today under the auspices of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
The President first visited the Myanmar Kaikavala Primary School and declared open the Suhuru classroom. The President then handed over a CTB bus to the general public to be deployed along the Myanmar Ududumbara road.
Sri Lanka Prajatantrika Samajwadi Janagade Adhikaru Janadipati Gotabaya Rajapaksa Ratnanje Myanmar.
You are the people who live here. It is only the people who live here who knows the exact solutions for the problems that they themselves face. If we look at these issues from the outside, there is a chance that we might misinterpret your problems. When the announcement was made that I will be touring Myanmar, there were posts on social media saying that I'm coming here to destroy the forests. That is wrong. We want to beautify the lives of the people in this village. Just like the village, the lives of the people living here should also be beautiful, because people here are living amid many hardships. Today, many of these media platforms spread false propaganda. I believe that the road here has already been constructed, and our secretary, Mr. Premasiri, will look into fixing the rest of the road as well. Isn't it?
මීටර් 2.4යි තියෙන එක පළල එක මීටර් 3.5කට විතර පළල් කරලා මුළු පාරම කාපට් කරන්න තමයි අපි සැලසුම් කරලා තියෙන්නේ කයිකාවල.
At the Trikavala school, the children told me that they only have classes from grade 1 to 11. They have to travel miles to study for their advanced level examinations. I believe that we have the Secretary of the Ministry of Education here. Something can be done to address this too, I believe. This morning I spoke with the provincial education directors. There are 103 children at this school. I believe that we need to introduce a curriculum at these schools for advanced level and will focus on subjects like agricultural economics, sustainable agriculture, geography, tourism, hospitality management and information technology for their advanced level examination. I believe that these are the modules that these children should be given the opportunity to pursue for their advanced level examination.
අපි උසස් පෙළට මේ ළමයින්ට කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේ විභාගයක් තියනවාද? තියෙනවා සමන් විභාග කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරල්තුමත් එක්ක ඒවලම සම්බන්ධ වුණා. ඒවට අවශ්‍ය පහසුකම් දැනටම දීලා අපි A level පන්තිය පටන් ගන්නවා සර්. ඒ වගේම ක්‍රීඩා සඳහා අවශ්‍ය පහසුකම් තියෙනවා නම් ඒවත් ලබා දෙන්න කිව්වා. ක්‍රීඩා පිටියයි තව බිල්ඩින් එකකුයි අපි හදලා දෙන්නම් හමුදාවේ. හොඳයි සර්. කිව්වා හමුදාවේ ආයේ ඉන්නවා. එතනට මං කිව්වා ඒකම ඇවිල්ලා ඒක ගුරුවරු ගැනයි අර ඉහළ උසස් පෙළ ගුරුවරයා ඒක කළා දෙන්න. ඒක කරනවා සර්.
උඩදුම්බර රෝහලට මේ PCR පරීක්ෂණයක් කියන යන්ත්‍රයක් ලබා දෙන්න කියලා මම ඉතාමත්ම ගෞරවයෙන් ඔබතුමාගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
නෑ දැන් එන්නත දෙන්නේ ඊළඟට. ඉවරට ඉස්සෙල්ලා එන්නත දුන්නාම PCR ඕනේ නැහැ. හැමෝටම දැන් එන්නත දෙනවා බය වෙන්න එපා.
We're crossing over for a short commercial break. Stay tuned to News.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
For more than a decade, from door to door, village to village, leadership that is changing lives across Sri Lanka. Come at them.
Welcome back. More incidents of deforestation have been reported in the country. We are now joined by Charlene Benedict from the newsroom. Good evening, Charlene.
Good evening, Zenith. Now, as you all know, many reports of environmental degradation taking place right here in Sri Lanka came in during the recent past. Now, as you all know, the effects of such incidents of environmental destruction are both long-lasting and catastrophic. Similar incidents were reported from areas like Polonnarua, Hambantota, Hantana and the Knuckles mountain range. Today, we received reports that the Dahiyangala elephant pass in Thanamalvilla is also facing a similar fate.
The Dahiyangala elephant pass, bridging the Udavalave National Park and the Bogahapattia Soragune forest, is considered the biggest elephant pass in the country. With the intervention of wildlife officers, an attempt to clear a large part of the elephant pass was prevented. However, it was revealed today that an area in close proximity to the Bogahapattia forest that comes under the Forest Conservation Department of the Dahiyangala elephant pass had been cleared. The deforestation had taken place in an area close to the Karakote, Palasa, Unakanda and Kilibunna villages.
This is the elephant pass that connects the two forest reserves. This destruction has been taking place inside the reserve for the past 1.5 to 2 weeks. They have cleared about 30 to 40 acres already. They have uprooted trees that have grown for over 50 to 60 years. If you come in about a month, you will be able to see that it is not the farmers who are here, but big businessmen who come here in their fancy vehicles.
Meanwhile, temporary shelters have been constructed in an area that comes under the Forest Conservation Department near the Van Alavihargala temple in Kantale.
The Wildlife Conservation Department come here and burden the people regarding the lands that were used from 1983. But 10,000 acres of forest land has been destroyed there. There is no one to look into that destruction. I used to live here. Tigers came and chased us away. But we saved our lives and came back here to live. But they are not allowing us to do that.
A tense situation arose when a group of officials attached to the Forest Conservation Department visited the area. The people who make these statements or do these things will not have to face the consequences in the future. The people living in these areas are the ones who will have to face the consequences of destroying these elephant passes. The people living in these areas have created this concept of an elephant pass to allow the elephants to cross without any obstruction and to mitigate the human-elephant conflict. When officials violate the Flora and Fauna Ordinance and other legal provisions in the country and destroy these elephant passes, it is the lives of the people who live in these areas that will go from bad to worse.
Although incidents contributing to the environmental degradation in the country are being reported on a daily basis, debates in the political sphere continue to focus on the crisis surrounding Minister Bimal Weeravangsha and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and Minister Bimal Weeravangsha today attended an event in Colombo.
The Made in Sri Lanka Trade Fair, organised to encourage local entrepreneurs, was held under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The event was held opposite the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute.
The Honourable Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Honourable Prime Minister, when you came into power as the President of this country in 2005, you gave rise to a significant revolution in the country's socio-economic and political policies. The entire nation was influenced by the belief that nothing is impossible. Terrorism that was said to be invincible was defeated by the military. The Hambantota port was developed for the nation. Likewise, the development of the port city in the vicinity of the Colombo port also began. An unprecedented amount of land has been added to our country. That decade under President Mahinda Rajapaksa's leadership was considered a remarkable chapter in the socio-economic and political history of Sri Lanka. Based on that, the present government led by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has gained the confidence to empower the brand made in Sri Lanka.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa later engaged in a tour of the fair with the Minister of Industries Wimal Weerawansa.
Namal Rajapaksa was sent to jail. How much was State Minister Prasanna Ranawira tortured? How many were put in jail? Wimal Weerawansa and Uday Gammampila were imprisoned. We must never forget that. I ask all of them never to forget these incidents too. We will not allow anyone to lay a hand on the Rajapaksas. Some prefer the big brother while some don't like the younger brother. Those who want the younger brother dislikes the elder one. They are trying to break a family.
As of now, we've had 2 meetings at Wimal Weerawansa's residence. The next meeting will be held on the 25th of February at the Communist Party headquarters. There we will decide the next location to hold the next meeting. The party leaders' meeting will be held at the Pivituru Hellorume party headquarters soon.
Wimal Weerawansa and Uday Gammampila are similar to Raigamaya and Gampolaya. Nobody can tell where their allegiance lies. I wonder if they are pawns of Rajapaksha family disputes. We wonder if this is a puppet show.
As the back row MPs, we would like to very clearly state that no matter which group or individual, both in and out of the ruling faction, try to obstruct the government, we will always serve the people of this country until Gotabaya Rajapaksa is the president, Mahinda Rajapaksa is the prime minister, and Basil Rajapaksa is the creator of the party.
Under the pilot project to bring down tourists to Sri Lanka, another flight from the Almaty International Airport in Kazakhstan carrying tourists arrived at the Matali International Airport in Hambantota earlier this morning. 164 tourists were on board this aircraft. Meanwhile, 118 tourists in Sri Lanka are scheduled to leave Sri Lanka on this flight. This is the 3rd flight that landed in Sri Lanka from Kazakhstan under the pilot project. The UK strain of COVID-19 has been detected in several parts of the island. What effect will this COVID-19 variant have on our country? Newsfirst got in touch via Zoom with Professor Neelika Maladige of the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura to inquire more about this.
How widespread is the UK COVID-19 variant in Sri Lanka?
The new variant has been detected in about 3 individuals from multiple areas. Based on reports from overseas, this new variant is more transmissible.
Will the new COVID-19 variant have the same devastating effect on Sri Lanka, similar to what is being witnessed in Europe at present?
New UK COVID-19 variant was detected in a large number of individuals in the recent past. Many deaths were reported as well. Though the new variant was detected in India, India was able to control the spread of it. The virus was also detected in Singapore, Thailand and South Korea, but these countries controlled the spread of it by implementing the right and timely measures.
If all passengers who arrive from overseas are directed to quarantine, how did the UK COVID-19 variant enter Sri Lanka? Can the virus originate within a country?
Yes, a virus can originate within Sri Lanka. However, in my view, the virus entered the country from external sources. We must remember that the COVID-19 virus, now spread globally, was first spread from one individual. The Ministry of Health and Military are working hard in ensuring quarantine procedures are carried out properly. But no matter how perfect quarantine programs are, there can be a risk of virus transmission. You cannot blame anyone for this.
How has the new UK COVID-19 variant affected Sri Lanka?
We have witnessed a surge in the number of cases with the new COVID-19 variant. Until a significant proportion of our population is inoculated, we will have to continue to follow the health guidelines. The most effective measure is to minimize gatherings.
මේ COVID ප්‍රභේදය අද වෙනකොට
Although the new COVID-19 variant was identified in Colombo, Avisavella, Biagama and Vaunia, it does not imply that it exists only in those areas. A national program to initiate proper testing to identify COVID-19 variants and how they spread is still not in place. If such a national program is to be carried out, you would expect a 200-year-old medical research institute to have at least a genetic sequencing analyzer. When England first discovered the spread of this variant in their country, they placed England under lockdown. In the end, if the spread of this variant goes out of control, do not say that it was the lack of discipline of the general public or the loopholes in the health sector that caused the crisis.
සෞඛ්‍ය කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයේ ගැටලුවක් නිසා කියලා තව මාසයකින් කියන්න සූදානම් වෙන්න එපා.
මූලික පියවරක් විදිහට අපි කළා එංගලන්තයෙන් සංචාරණ සීමා කළා.
As an initial step, we restricted travel from England, but the virus was not only present in England, it had spread to 50 more countries. So there is suspicion that this virus had spread within the community from those who arrived in the country from overseas. This must have taken place due to certain loopholes in the quarantine system. We saw how there were issues surrounding the Ukrainian tourists who arrived in the country. It was also reported that a cricketer from England tested positive for the new variant of the virus. But we don't for certain know how the new variant entered the country. This is heavily spreading in Kurunegala. We saw how it was spreading in Kegol at one point. Several areas in Kandy too have fallen prey to the virus. So isn't this new variant already present in these areas? Are we not going to impose travel restrictions in these areas where this new variant is already present? If we fail to closely analyze the current situation, there may be a major impact in the future.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa expressed his views regarding the new COVID-19 variant in Sri Lanka.
A new COVID-19 strain has been identified in several patients in Sri Lanka. This new strain has been found in Colombo, Avisavella, Biagama and the north. What should a government with a prosperous vision do? It must import a vaccine that is resistant to all variants. There was no plan of action regarding the vaccination drive. The sad part about this is that there is a big question mark over whether the vaccine that is being imported to our country will be effective against this new COVID-19 variant. The current government is responsible for answering the 20 million people in the country. Can the imported Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine suppress the variant that is now present in Sri Lanka? They have not planned anything ahead. They are not aware of the problems that may arise in the future and are not concerned about this country's people. The government is only concerned about the members of the ruling party and their closest friends. The 22 million citizens of this country are of no concern to them.
Shifting your focus to Sri Lanka's economy, are goods at Satosa outlets priced at the stipulated concessionary rate? This was the response from the Trade Minister, Bandula Gunawardena.
අඩු උනායි කිව්වට නෙමෙයි අඩු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ ගිහලා. ඒකටනේ සම්පකාර ව්‍යාපාරේ මේ හදන්න අලුතෙන්.
The Satosa cooperative was destroyed by the former government. They stole and looted from the entire corporation. Restoring it to its former glory cannot be achieved in 3 months. Nevertheless, we have been able to maintain price stability within all branches island-wide. If you visit the Satosa branch in Medavachia, products can be purchased at the same price you pay at the branch in Colombo.
Meanwhile, quoting the Minister of Trade, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, the Ceylon Today reported that the revenue of Satosa outlets had increased by 102% in the 3 days following the government's decision to reduce prices of 27 essential goods. According to the Trade Minister, the daily income of 425 Satosa outlets across the country had risen to 166 million rupees after the reductions compared to 82 million rupees reported prior to the price reductions. Minister Gunawardena adds that necessary arrangements have been made to ensure the continuous supply of the 27 items to Satosa and cooperative outlets. The chairman of Satosa also expressed his views about the availability of goods at concessionary rates.
These products are distributed to all Satosa branches across the country. The price reductions have led to private supermarkets also reducing their prices. This program will be continued for 3 months. However, there may be a price discrepancy for certain items. For instance, there is a shortage of chicken at present. After stocks are replenished, this issue will be resolved by the day after tomorrow. Paddy mill owners have promised to provide us with samba rice within 2 weeks, and onions will be imported within a week. We have eliminated all intermediaries in the purchasing process. The benefit of the savings made by eliminating the intermediary is being given to the customer.
We're crossing over for a short commercial break. Stay tuned to News First.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back. Farmers toil hard and long and sacrifice their sweat and blood to tend to their fields. Although the saying goes, you reap what you sow, these farmers from Ampara have not been able to do that.
For many in Ampara, the main mode of income is paddy farming. Their lives are interlinked with their paddy fields. Although these farmers hoped that their harvest would be good this season, it was unfortunately destroyed due to the lack of timely rains, floods and strong winds.
According to a decision taken at the seasonal meetings, the seeds were planted on the appropriate days. There was no rain during November and December. The rain started in January. The young paddy plants were first destroyed by the floods. The fields were inundated for the second time. After that, they were damaged by the winds. The last of the remaining paddy plants were taken over by the mites and fungus. The harvest has shrunk by 50%.
The situation has aggravated to a point where they are unable to harvest even a single sack of rice. These farmers do not blame the natural disasters, they only want their losses to be compensated. In a country where fraud and corruption never sleeps, what will the future look like for these farmers who have lost their farmlands, tilled and sowed by the sweat of their brow? It has been 2 weeks since the Anikut in Talungama Bibile was damaged. Despite travelling on the road adjacent to the Anikut has become risky, the relevant authorities have yet to pay their attention to the matter. These farmers in dead fear that they will not be able to reap their harvest. An attempt was made to repair the Anikut by villagers yesterday. They claim that the Anikut cannot be repaired only by bags of sand.
The construction of this Anikut was completed 75 years ago. Since then, it has not been renovated. We have informed the relevant authorities. The 1818 uprising started on this paddy field. People live off this field. You can see that there is no side wall here. No one helped us to construct this.
Villagers allege that 80 acres of paddy fields belonging to 250 farming families in Talungama, Halpanwila and Kaladena villages could be destroyed due to this.
This directs water into 2 paddy fields. Now those fields will be dried up. There is no point in digging a senseless drain since it will be destroyed with a single wave of water.
India has reiterated its long-standing interest in participation in operations of the Colombo port, even after Sri Lanka unilaterally cancelled the Memorandum of Cooperation for the development of the Colombo port. Indian media quoted the spokesperson to the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, Anurag Srivastava, saying India's interest in participation in the Colombo port, and I quote, is a long-standing one since most goods handled there are from and to India, end quote.
According to the report, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, Anurag Srivastava said, and I quote, "We had in principle agreement from the Sri Lankan government in this regard. Current government has, however, expressed a preference in engaging in investors directly. I understand discussions are still underway," unquote. India and Sri Lanka signed a memorandum of understanding for cooperation on economic projects in 2019. The development and operation of the container terminal was one of the projects in the MOU, and it was a joint venture.
A project to build a container terminal along the Yangon River in Myanmar by India's Adani Group has been cast in doubt after the military coup in Myanmar and subsequent US sanctions. According to a report published on the developments on the Hindu business line, Adani's investment in Myanmar gives India a geopolitical counter to Chinese investments in Sri Lanka's Hambantota and Colombo ports and Pakistan's Gwadar port, as Beijing encircles the region with its Belt and Road Initiative.
According to the report, in May 2019, the Adani Group said it would invest as much as $290 million to build and run a new container terminal along Myanmar's Yangon River on a 50-year deal, its second overseas venture after the Abbott Point terminal in Queensland, Australia. The Yangon terminal is being built under the Myanmar Port Authority's auspices and the Myanmar Ministry of Transport and Communication. The project is helmed by Adani Yangon International Terminal Company Limited, a unit of Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited. The military coup against the democratically elected civilian government of Myanmar and the sanctions imposed by the United States on 10 serving and former Burmese military officials on Thursday have put the Adani Group building a container terminal at Yangon River in a bind.
The Adani Group in India has got involved in building a terminal in Myanmar, but the constructions have come to a halt because of the military coup there. When we look at the intention behind what is being done, this company is always appearing for the geopolitical interests of India. We don't know if Adani is an Indian government-controlled company or a private company, because on the surface they appear to be a private company. But in reality, they always stand for the interests of the Indian government. The port in Myanmar is being built to counter the influence of China at the Hambantota port. At the Colombo port, the southern terminal is owned by China and India is asking for the east container terminal. So this Adani Group is trying to intervene in matters within Sri Lanka on behalf of the Indian government. The government is saying that if the plantation companies cannot pay the estate workers a daily wage of 1,000 rupees, the estates will be given to the Adani Group. Is this really a private company or a company that stands for the interests of the Indian government?
මේ කම්පැනිය පෞද්ගලිකක් නෙමෙයි එහෙම නැත්නම් පෞද්ගලික නාමයෙන් පෙනී ඉන්න ඉන්දියානු රජයේ කම්පැනියක්ද?
On the 17th of January this year, Newsfirst reported on concerns regarding the potential impact that the proposed elevated highway project from the New Kalniya Bridge to Athragiriya can have on the Talungama wetlands. A peaceful protest was staged close to the Talungama tank today, demanding authorities to protect the Talungama wetlands from this proposed construction. In some news from overseas, a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake, the second highest level, jolted Miyagi and Fukushima prefectures in the Tohoku region today. According to the meteorology agency, the earthquake was also felt in Tokyo. A tsunami warning was not issued. Children as young as 6 will be given the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine as part of a new clinical trial to test its efficacy in youngsters.
Researchers will use 300 volunteers to assess whether the jab produces a strong immune response in children aged between 6 and 17. The Oxford jab is one of 3 to have already been approved for use in adults in the UK, along with those from Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna. The Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health has said it was rare for COVID-19 to cause death and severe illness to children. It said, quote, "In children, the evidence is now clear that COVID-19 is associated with considerably lower burden of morbidity morbidity and mortality compared to that seen in the elderly, unquote. The first vaccinations under the trial will take place this month, with up to 240 children receiving the vaccine and others receiving a controlled meningitis jab.
Taking a look at the Talungama story once again. On the 17th of January this year, Newsfirst reported on concerns regarding the potential impact that the proposed elevated highway project from the New Kalnia Bridge to Athuragiriya can have on the Talungama wetlands. Now, a peaceful protest was staged close to the Talungama tank today, demanding authorities to protect the Talungama wetlands from this proposed construction.
The Talungama wetlands, which has been identified as a Ramsar wetland under the convention signed by Sri Lanka, consists of a rich biodiversity.
These wetlands are Ramsar accredited. In fact, the only internationally accredited Ramsar wetland city in the world. And so we need to raise awareness so that they stay protected, and raise awareness that this should be and should continue to be a protected environment.
Due to the construction of the highway, our area could succumb to environmental atrocities such as air pollution, sound pollution and flooding. We kindly request the President to protect the Talungama and Aberihena lakes and nearby paddy fields, which has been there since the days of the kings and filled with biodiversity.
We would like to request all factions to engage in the relevant activities while protecting the environment and the lake. More than 170 residents of this area took part in this protest as an attempt to save the Talungama wetlands.
A protest was held demanding the authorities to protect the Talungama wetlands from the construction of the proposed elevated highway project from the New Kalania Bridge to Athuragiriya. Residents of the area claim that the Road Development Authority has already marked a corridor for the highway on a paddy field adjacent to the wetlands.
We're crossing over for a short commercial break. Stay tuned for more.
This week on the Sports Centre.
You have been a part of a lot of tough assignments as a player for Sri Lanka cricket.
I felt that Sri Lanka really needed this help.
So how would you classify first-class cricket in Sri Lanka?
24 clubs clustered into these provinces. So
it was like God disguised as Aravinda De Silva at the 1996 Cricket World Cup final for all of us. We've been cherishing that memory for all the 25 years. Who are the players do you think that could take Sri Lanka cricket forward?
I said if we are to win, Sanath will have to make a double 100 and I'll have to make 100. And of course, Murali did the magic.
We don't have to look for an example beyond India. Rahul Dravid has been the pioneer in terms of bringing up good talents from India.
Told Mahila coming and taking over the under-19 team.
In conversation with former Sri Lankan cricketer Aravinda De Silva, tonight at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. We leave you tonight with the views expressed by the President of the Association of Government Medical Laboratory Technologists, Ravi Kumudesh, regarding the new COVID-19 variant spreading in certain parts of Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for watching News First. Good night and take care.
A national program to initiate proper testing to identify COVID-19 variants and how they spread is still not in place. In the end, if the spread of the variant goes out of control, do not say that it was the lack of discipline of the general public or the loopholes in the health sector that caused the crisis.